The global attack against Israel and the Jewish people and the silence of the Christian church is absolutely mind-blowing right now. Hi friends, thank you for stopping by. This is your update, the Israel Frontlines update for this week of September the 11th. The level at which things are heating up and accelerating in Israel and the nations is extraordinary. You have to be living under a rock to not understand that we are in a Psalm chapter 2 moment right now. The nations of the earth are raging. The kings of the earth, they're preparing to gather in just a few days at the United Nations for the General Assembly in New York. And the global attack against Israel and the Jewish people and the silence of the Christian church is absolutely mind-blowing right now. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're taking steps to be on the right side of history. So let's go through some of the updates from the week. Of course, going back to just about 2 weeks ago, Hamas murdered in cold blood 6 hostages, including an American hostage massacred by Hamas. Since that time, since the death of those 6 hostages, Israeli society on the ground in Israel, the people of Israel, are just absolutely torn in two. You have to remember this is a very small country. You're talking a country of only about 10 million people. The per capita impact of 100 hostages in that small of a population, everybody is connected somehow. Everybody knows somebody or is related to someone. And so the fact that we're coming up to a year with the hostages not being released, and now with hostages losing their lives, has caused confidence in Prime Minister Netanyahu to plummet. So there is absolute infighting within Israeli society that has not been seen before. So get a picture for a moment. I want us to understand the picture of what's happening right now. You have Israel facing war in the south with Hamas in Gaza. You have the Houthi rebels attacking from Yemen. You have Hezbollah in the north coming in through Lebanon, but backed by Syria. So you have all kinds of attack coming from the north. Lebanon, that used to be a beautiful nation. Beirut, that was a gorgeous city in the Middle East. Folks, everywhere radical Islam goes, death and destruction follow. Where radical Islam goes, there is a cessation of human rights, the dignity of human life, and there is an all-out call to bring us back to barbaric times. They're looking for the restoration of the caliphate, for restoration of Islamic rule over the nations of the earth. And now the radical left, communists, Marxists, the woke left is in complete collusion. This is Psalm chapter 2. Let us cast off their restraints. Let us cast off their bands. But the Bible says, he who sits in the heavens laughs. God is going to have the last word. But right now, the truth is, Israeli society is at a breaking point. There is massive national PTSD. This is a nation of people whose parents and grandparents endured the Holocaust. They're one generation after the Holocaust. They've heard almost every day of their lives, never again. And yet it seems that it's happening again right in front of them. The fact that a year on, the hostages have not come home has caused confidence to plummet over the current government. The hostages' bodies were found in a narrow tunnel with no air vents, no toilets, and almost no food. It's been confirmed that they were shot at close range with the IDF soldiers less than a kilometer away. Can you imagine the heartbreak for these families? that rescue was less than a kilometer. That's a half mile away. And as those rescuers drew near, Hamas, these evil, demonic forces, shot them at point blank range. And of course, the American whose name we have all come to know, Hirsch Goldberg Poland, 23 years old. My son Isaac is 22. He was taken hostage at the Nova Music Festival. These amazing 6 hostages killed in cold blood. The father of one Israeli-American hostage who is still being held captive said this. He said, negotiating with Hamas is like trying to make a deal with Satan. We're coming up to the 1-year anniversary of this war. You saw me in the streets of Jerusalem when the war broke out. We were there, we went live. You saw me when we came back, and I went to Times Square, and unbelievably thousands were gathered in Times Square celebrating, standing with evil. I want you to know that on October the 5th, these Hamas sympathizers are gathering together again in Times Square. In Times Square, they're gathering together again. We are going to be there to meet them. We are calling forth courageous intercessors, courageous Christians to come and stand. This is our Dietrich Bonhoeffer moment. If you've not yet signed Bonhoeffer, go to bonhoeffer.org. Please sign right now and please forward on to everyone that you know. Folks, this is it. The war has begun. I don't know how to reach through this camera and get a hold of you on your way to Target, but war has begun on American soil. Jews are not safe walking into kosher restaurants. Jews are not safe going to universities. They helped fund and underwrite. We are seeing Jewish people attacked in our nation on an almost daily basis. And Christians, listen up. It starts with the Jews. It's not going to end with them. They're then going to come for you. September 4th, just days ago, Mohammed Khan, a 20-year-old Pakistani, was arrested near the US-Canadian border, planning an attack in full support of ISIS. He planned this attack on several Jewish centers in Brooklyn, planned it for October the 7th, and wanted it to be the largest attack on US soil since 9/11. Thank God they caught him and it was thwarted. But this war has begun on American soil. Go to bonhoeffer.org right now and sign your pledge. Get it to your pastor. Get it to your denominational leaders. Get it to your congressman. We are seeing everywhere we look an increase of attacks. The ADL cites unprecedented anti-Semitism on college and university campuses. Jonathan Greenblatt says that they have not seen anything like these latest protests, that they have completely dramatically increased since last year. He says pro-Palestinian student groups spent the summer training how they were going to protest and attack on college campuses. How did our church young people spend the summer? What are we doing? The ADL has been asking college campus presidents to make sure Jewish students are safe. But so far, Columbia and Harvard got Fs in terms of protecting Jewish students. FBI director, the director of the FBI, Chris Wray, told Capitol Hill, anti-Semitic threats are now at a historic high level in all of American history. This is what's happening this week on Israel, the Frontlines. We're seeing this happening now, bizarrely, not only in the far left, but also increasingly in the far right. We've seen what's happened with Candace Owens, who has become absolutely unhinged, completely deranged in her level of attack. But even Tucker Carlson now is beginning to buy into some of these unbelievable lies. Isn't it extraordinary that if you go far left or if you go far right, you end up with anti-Semitism? Why? Because it's not a political issue. Anti-Semitism is not a political issue. It is a spiritual issue at its core. And if you leave the place of covenant, if you leave the place of the dignity of all people, if you leave the place of truth, you begin to be deceived by the extremism that is out there. And so We're living in an extraordinary time. The U.S., thankfully, filed criminal complaints against 6 Hamas leaders, but let's believe that these Hamas leaders will be erased from the face of the earth. September the 3rd, New York City, in a barbershop in New York. A Jewish barber was attacked by a customer who grabbed the scissors and slashed the Jewish barber's arms, causing deep wounds. He screamed out, "I want to kill you, you effing Jew." The barber said the attacker told him that he hated Israel and wanted revenge. That's what's happening in New York. American Jewish students were at a kosher restaurant in New York, and masked, cowardly anti-Israel protesters invaded the restaurant and harassed these Jewish students. In 9 months, the Hillel hotline that they set up when Jewish students are feeling attacked and unsafe received 650 requests for assistance. 650 requests for assistance just in the past month. Eagles Wings was on the front lines literally on October the 7th as we were there for the war. I was on the front lines for you the day I returned home in Times Square. Eagles Wings will be on the front lines on October 5th in Times Square again. If you can join us, please call or email the office. We will get you the details. I'm letting you know right now, we cannot guarantee anyone's safety. We believe in peaceful protest like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., but there is radical violence coming from pro-Hamas supporters. In America, we have to decide, what are we going to allow in our nation? Unbelievably, I had pastors this week say, well, I don't know about this Bonhoeffer thing. We don't want to get involved in anything that's political. And this teaches us the truth of the maxim that says those who do not learn from history are bound to repeat it. Those who do not learn from history are bound to repeat it. Those leaders are ignorant of the fact that 12,000 pastors in Germany, 12,000, there were 18,000 churches as Hitler rose to power, 18,000. 3,000 joined Bonhoeffer, 3,000 joined Hitler. That left 12,000 churches in the valley of decision. Is your church in the valley of decision? Where does your church stand on Israel? Have you had a conversation with your pastor? When your pastor says, oh, we're pro-Israel, ask him, say, thank you, pastor. Thank you so much. What are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? Because it is not sufficient anymore to have a abstract, idealized support for Israel and the Jewish people and not do something. The first thing you can do right now, ask your pastor and your denomination to sign Bonhoeffer.org. Become a partner with Eagles Wings. Go to the website, eagleswings.org/donate. Join us in Times Square on October the 5th. I won't be there. I'll be in Jerusalem that day, but we'll have Eagles Wings leadership there. But folks, this is the moment for the church to arise. And so that is the front lines for this week. That's what's happening in and around Israel and the Jewish people. I'm Bishop Robert Stearns with Eagles Wings. We are calling you back to Jerusalem-centered Christianity. We're calling you back to the message of Yeshua of Nazareth, the preacher in Galilee, and his disciples. Acts chapter 2, verses 42 to 47. We're calling you out of a Constantinian construct of Christianity and into an understanding of what Jesus came to bring. And part of that is understanding Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you. God is a God of covenantal continuity, and God entered history through his friendship with Abraham that he has extended to his descendants forever. So I invite you to continue this journey with us as we ascend the hill of the Lord and we walk up Mount Zion. I'll see you next week. God bless you.